Hi guys, this is Erica from Gokce Capital. Now before I begin, be sure to click subscribe and turn on the notification bell. In 2018, a small military object was uncovered during soil sampling of an old Navy shipyard. The object was a radioactive disc, the size of a silver dollar, whose glow once helped sailors navigate a World War II ship deck. This radioactive disc was found in an embankment just 30 feet from a set of condos currently under construction. But the disc was just the start of the environmental worries at San Francisco's Hunters Point Shipyard. We'll find out more at the end of this video. But first, if you are a landowner or buyer, you will want to have your property's soil tested. Soil testing is essential if you want to grow crops, but it is also used to uncover contamination or other issues of grave importance. So in today's video, we have the top things you need to know. Number 1. Soil sample testing is most often done when you are gardening or looking to grow crops and is used to estimate how healthy your soil is. Soil provides nutrients to plants and serves as their foundation to grow. If you don't have healthy soil, you won't have healthy plants. Number 2. A basic soil analysis provides information on two important soil characteristics: pH and available nutrient levels. Soil pH is a measurement on a scale from acid, or low pH, to alkaline, high pH. While most soils are on the acid side of the pH spectrum, the best soils are moderately acidic. Doing soil sample testing can help to indicate pH problems and allow recommendations for correcting them. In a similar vein, available nutrient levels in your soil help to determine how good crop growth will be. And soil sample testing evaluates levels of phosphorus, potassium, calcium, and magnesium in your soil. This way you can determine the right kinds of amendments and fertilizer you will need to grow crops. Number 3. In addition, there are also more specialized soil sample tests that can investigate other potential issues with the soil, such as soil salinity, nitrogen, organic carbon, aluminum, and micronutrient levels. Number 4. A laboratory will perform the soil sample testing for you, but you can take the samples yourself. To take an appropriate soil sample, you first need to clear plant growth from around your sample spot. You'll then dig a hole about as wide as your spade and as deep as the layer you are sampling. Conventionally, you go down about 8 inches, but if you are planting trees, you'll want to go deeper into the 8 to 24 inch zone. You'll then use the spade tip to cut down and remove a slice of one side of the whole wall. You keep this slice on the blade of your spade and use a trowel, knife, or stick to cut away the sides of the slice. This will leave you with a center section that should be about 1 inch wide. You'll place the subsample along with several others in a plastic container and mix them together. Then remove about 2 cups of the mixture. This will be the sample that you send to the laboratory or your local extension office for analysis. Number 5. If you have never done soil testing before, you should know that standard soil test kits are often available for purchase from your county office or garden center. These kits will include a sample submission form, instructions on how to take a sample bag, and a return envelope so you can mail the sample back to the laboratory for testing. Number 6. You should test your soil every 3 years. Having said this, soil under more intensive cultivation may require annual testing. Number 7. On top of laboratory testing, there are some do-it-yourself tests you can perform on your garden as well. The squeeze test. This test helps you determine whether you have clay, sandy, or loamy soil. You take a handful of moist but not wet soil from your garden and give it a firm squeeze. If it holds its shape and sits stubbornly when you give it a light poke, it means it's clay. If it falls apart as soon as you open your hand, then it's sandy soil. The percolation test will tell you whether you have drainage issues or not. To complete one, you dig a hole about 6 inches wide and 1 foot deep. You fill the hole with water and let it drain completely. Keep track of how long it takes for the water to drain. If it takes more than 4 hours, your soil likely has poor drainage. And then there is the worm test. Having worms in your soil is a positive indicator of overall health. Do the worm test when your soil is at least 55 degrees. It should also be moist but not soaking wet. Dig a hole about 1 foot across and 1 foot deep. Place the soil on a tarp or piece of cardboard, then shift the soil with your hands and look for earthworms. If you count at least 10 worms, then the test is a success. Number 8. Up until now, we've been talking about soil testing in the context of gardening or raising crops. But there are numerous other kinds of soil testing that you should do before starting any sort of construction project. The primary one is a geotechnical study, which is completed by a geotech or soil engineer. The purpose of the study is to analyze the soil strength so that the engineer can determine the best foundation for your structure. And number 9, in addition to geotechnical testing, soil samples are also taken to test for soil contamination. These tests are more rare and are usually done as part of a Phase 2 environmental site assessment if a Phase 1 historical analysis has indicated there may be potential contamination on your property. Just as with geotechnical testing, a professional will need to undertake both the sampling and testing of the soil for contamination. So if you are purchasing a commercial property or land in an area with a history of potential contaminating property uses, it's a good idea to commission an environmental site assessment and check for contamination. Which brings us back to the environmental woes at Hunters Point Shipyard. The shipyard is located off of San Francisco Bay on San Francisco's east coast. Originally a commercial shipyard, the Navy purchased Hunters Point after World War II and made it the home of the Navy Radiological Defense Laboratory. For the next 30 years, the shipyard was home to the Navy's largest applied nuclear testing lab. It was also the site where the Navy cleaned ships contaminated with radioactive debris from offshore atomic weapons tests. Hunters Point was deactivated in 1974 and permanently closed in 1994. Since then, the site was listed as a Superfund site by the EPA, and the U.S. Navy began extensive remediation. In a 2004 report, parts of the shipyard were classified as uncontaminated based on a review of documents, maps, and first-hand accounts of radiological activity on the site. One of these areas, dubbed Parcel A, was transferred to the city of San Francisco for redevelopment into housing. The Navy contended that Parcel A was used for military housing and that there is no evidence of soil contamination in the area. Yet it was in this area that the radioactive disk was found. Even worse, a further investigation into the neighboring parcel found falsified soil sampling reports. The adjacent parcel, labeled Parcel G, was a heavily contaminated site where ships were physically cleaned of radioactive debris. Parcel G had been remediated by the Navy's contractor, Tetra Tech, which came under heavy scrutiny in 2014 after a former cleanup worker accused his employer of instructing him to replace potentially contaminated soil samples with clean ones. His allegation led to a federal investigation that resulted in 2 Tetra Tech supervisors being sentenced to prison for falsifying soil sample reports. But the scandal called into question the entire remediation process. More importantly, the discovery of the disk on Parcel A raises concerns about the possible contamination of parcels that had previously been classified as uncontaminated and which have since been developed into housing. So yes, this is an extreme example, but Hunters Point highlights the importance of regular and thorough soil testing. Even if you're simply trying to grow crops, soil testing, not only for nutrient levels, but also potential contamination, can help you catch issues before they evolve into a crisis. But if you're curious about what happened to those homes that were under construction at the time of the disk's discovery, a review from an independent panel of scientists vouched for the original testing of the site and confirmed that Parcel A is unlikely to be contaminated. But residents of the area did win a lawsuit against the developers, claiming they were kept in the dark about the potential contamination. Now, do you have any stories about soil sample testing? Let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? You're going to love our Gokce Land Due Diligence program. We'll make you a land due diligence expert in just 7 days. Check it out at gokcecapital.com/glad. And while you're at our website, don't forget to explore our $1 down listings at gokcecapital.com/listings. Finally, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email, call, or text, and we will respond as soon as possible. So thank you for listening, and more to come.